What is harmonic rhythm? Harmonic rhythm is where the chords happen in the phrase. So picture a blank slate of an 8-measure phrase. Most tunes use 8-measure phrases for the melodic structures. AABA tunes, for example, use the same 8 measures twice, different 8 measures the third time, and then the same one to wrap it up. So let's take a look at an 8-measure phrase like Autumn Leaves. It's divided into 2-measure phrases melodically. Here are the first 2 measures. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. If I take a look at the way the melody sections off the supporting chords, it really makes these groups. Here are the first 2. The second set on measure 3 and 4. Measure 5 and 6. And measure 7 and 8. Now, let's analyze that harmony. It's in the key of B flat major or G minor. It's a 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 5 of 6, 6 minor. Now, even though this song is in a minor key, I personally don't think about minor keys. I always think about their relative major because I have all my shit there. My secondary dominant stuff is worked out in that kind of vision of a key. So temporarily, maybe I'll look at that A minor 7 flat 5, D7, G minor as a minor 2, 5, 1. But to me, the bigger picture, the logic of this tune is in B flat. But now I'm going to do something unpredictable for jazz. I'm going to use my ears and ask myself, does it feel final when I get to that B flat major, to the 1 and the first 2, 5, 1? A 1, 2, 3, 4. Getting to that G minor was the only place in that whole progression where there was some sort of feeling of a stream reaching the lake, right? Everything was kind of like in motion. And the way I think about that B flat, you know, you have this like waterfall and it's going to like a shallower place, right? That's kind of like plateauing. The water's standing there for a second and then goes the rest of the way home, right? So this 2, 5 goes here, but it wants to keep going because it's on measure 3. Now measure 3 is a strong place, but it's not the conclusion of the phrase. So if I'm playing some long phrase without a lot of space, the natural place for everything to resolve, to reach that ground level, would be that G minor. Here's an example for a phrase. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. So the harmonic rhythm of the A section of that 8-measure phrase keeps pulling me towards measure 7 inside that whole thing. Now a lot of tunes, not this one, start on the 1 chord. But whenever you have tunes that start on the 1 chord, a good question would be, well, do I start with a resolution? It's like, no, that's just a journey that starts from home going to home. This is a journey that started from the outside going to home. So just for shits and giggles, I'm going to take the entire A of this tune and ignore all the changes in it and just say it's D7 altered. And then when I get to measure 7, I'm gonna go to G minor. So I'm just going to create more and more and more tension over that whole thing and eventually resolve it. Check out what that sounds like. Did that work? If so, why did it work? Well, the whole thing, even though it was pretty out on some of these chords, felt like it was still going to the right place. So your ear is like, oh, okay. It's like somebody's telling you a really weird out there story, and then they sort of get to the point and they're like, oh, all that random shit you told us in the beginning of the story now makes sense, right? By the merit of the conclusion, your insane explanation somehow is now coherent. And that's really the point of harmonic rhythm. If you understand where something is going, you can get away with doing way more on the tense parts if you're just treating it like transitory space on the way to consonance. So one thing you really don't want to do is do some sort of big 2-5-1 lick resolving to measure 3, right? You're playing C minor, F7, going to that B flat, but it's too early in the music to come to some sort of conclusion. That's like taking a big trip and you're like, mother, kiss everybody goodbye, right? It's like, you know, leave the house and then like pitch a tent in your backyard, right? It's like you haven't gone far enough to make that a dramatic, you know, journey. You want to actually go somewhere, get all the way to that G minor first before you can come home, right? And tell people about it. So don't do something that resolves so early in the form. Do not do this. Do this. Not this. So the bridge of Autumn Leaves is 16 measures. It's twice as long as the A, but you gotta still think about it as 2 8-measure phrases that are divided in a really similar way, right? Think about this big cascading waterfall, reaching a plateau, and then going the rest of the way to where it's going. So the first time the plateau is going to minor, it's just a 2-5-1 to minor, A half diminished, D7, G minor. Oh, but it's not over, then it's going C minor, F7, B flat. So that's sort of like a first point of arrival, but it's one big long section. So it sort of keeps going from there, right? It keeps going A minor, 7 flat 5, D7. Now it's G with a line cliche. A lot of people have different versions of the changes there. And then it ends with another 2-5-1 to minor. So if you think about it in 4 measure chunks, you have a minor 2-5-1, major 2-5-1, minor 2-5-1, minor 2-5-1. 2-5 each a bar, and then whatever, the 1-2 bars. What you really want to have the ability to do is, first of all, divide it into 2 8-measure phrases that both resolve into that measure 7 area, right? So you don't want to conclude too early into measure 3 and 4, because again, then you create that situation where it's not enough of a journey and your phrasing is going to start to sound very boxy. So again, here's an example of how not to play the bridge, followed by an example of how to play the bridge. That sucked. So in conclusion, what you really want to take away from this is that you need to spend the time to ear out the tunes you're playing. After you figured out the chords and you have the melody in your head, just ask yourself, where does this song want to go? Where is the point in the harmony that it's at rest? If you listen to You Are My Sunshine or Twinkle Twinkle or the most basic stuff, Happy Birthday, where's the big cadence? Think about that metaphor of the waterfall and the stream going down to the lake. Where does it reach ground level and the tune actually feels like it's resolved harmonically? You need to use that information as the basis of your phrasing, because that's the most obvious way of playing, and every subtle way of phrasing is sort of a layer that you build on top of that. Cool. We're going to have transcriptions on our Patreon and a lot of cool stuff there, so be sure to join us there. Also subscribe, like the page, do all the stuff, and we'll see you next time.